Well, here we are, Cam, back again already for another season of Red Deer Rebels hockey. And a lot like last year, it's going to be a young club as they get ready for this 2018-19 campaign.
Most certainly, no 19-year-old forwards on the team, as it sits right now anyway. So the forward group will be young. Interesting to see how it all plays out. There'll be 4 20-year-olds at camp, so that you can only keep 3 during the course of the regular season. And we'll see how that all shakes down. Colin Parody, the only defenseman as a 20-year-old. And then you got Brandon Hagel, Reese Johnson, and former Red Deer Rebel, now current Red Deer Rebel, Jeff DeWitt. So got to figure out the 20-year-old situation. But yeah, it's still going to be a young group, most certainly up front. A lot of experience on defense and some pretty good experience in goal, too.
Well, let's start by looking between the pipes, Mooner, because the Rebels are bringing a couple of guys to training camp that show a lot of promise for this team.
Oh, for sure. Last season, Ethan Anders, it was his first year in the WHL, and wow, what a great season he had. Played a ton as a 17-year-old rookie, played a lot in the playoffs for the team, and maybe played some of his best, late. So that's outstanding to see the amount of development he did over the course of the season. And Byron Fancy, who was a draft pick of the Rebels, 2-3 years ago now, but played AAA midget the last 2 years in Lethbridge, and part of that Lethbridge team that went all the way to the national championship, so winning Alberta and then winning the Pacific region, and has got a lot of experience in AAA midgets. Played a couple of games with the Rebels over the last 2 years at this level, and I would think we'll get every opportunity to play at this level this year.
On defense, you mentioned the 20-year-old in Colin Parody, but a lot of good 18 and 19-year-old guys led by a pretty impressive guy who was taken in the first round of the NHL draft.
Alexander Alexiev, he went in the first round of the Washington Capitals, and yeah, I'm sure he'll get a good long look with Washington, but I don't expect that he's going to play for the Capitals this season. I think he'll be right back here with the Red Deer Rebels and will be a huge part of this team. Now, the last 2 years, he's had some injuries and some things happen where he hasn't been able to play a full season. Really like to see him play a full year this year. Dawson Bartow got picked by the Dallas Stars in this past year's NHL entry draft, and he is another guy that continues to improve. Carson Sass, Ethan Sakowicz, Jacob Haroff, Hunter Donahoe. There's a lot of experience on that blue line coming back. So that should be a real pillar of strength for the Red Deer Rebels this upcoming season.
So strength on the back end, some good promise between the pipes. And as we touched on off the top, it's going to be perhaps the biggest question mark this year is, can the Red Deer Rebels score enough goals? Who are they going to be counting on for all the offense?
Well, you look at the 20-year-olds to begin with, and Brandon Hagel, who will go to the training camp of the Montreal Canadiens, but do expect that he'll come back. And you never know, though. Hey, maybe he gets signed, maybe he plays in the American League this year. That's a possibility, but I do expect him back with the club. He'll be expected to lead offensively. Reese Johnson, one of the potential 20-year-olds, and I think would have a very strong chance of being one. Had a great year last year, and he will need to have that type of year, maybe even a little bit better. But then all those younger players that were a part of the rebuild of last season, they all need to take that next step. They got their feet wet last season. There's not a lot of goals when you look at that whole group, if you put it all together. But guys need to improve and become guys that are looked upon offensively. So we're going to see how that all shakes down, and hopefully somebody emerges from that group to score goals.
Should be some fun competition. And some changes behind the bench this year, because we know Brent Sutter's back, but he's got a whole new crew of assistant coaches, basically.
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit different. You've got Brad Flynn and Ryan Colville, who will be on the bench with Brent this year, and they're both new. And Kramer Barnstable is going to be a goaltender coach, so he'll be into the mix, and we know we love having him on the radio broadcast like we have over the last few years, but I know he'll be a good fit. So yeah, it'll look a little different on the bench, and it'll look a little different on the ice. And of course, Oleg Zaitsev, who's a 17-year-old rookie, came in the CHL import draft. He'll be expected to help out offensively too, but still, that's quite an adjustment as a 17-year-old who's not overly familiar with the English language, not to mention the game over here and the culture. It's a lot of things to put in one guy's basket to start off, so it might take him a little bit, but I do think he's got the talent level that he could be an offensive player.
But at least nice for him, he got a taste of Red Deer early by playing in the Holinka Gretzky Cup for Team Russia. So a little bit of a head start in terms of him getting used to our city.
Most certainly, and then he stayed. So after the Holinka Gretzky Cup, He just stayed in Red Deer. So figuring out the city and the culture and the language, and hopefully that all falls into place for him.
Love it. And once again this year, each and every radio game
Yes.
on 106.7 The Drive.
Tune us in, please.